All right, guys, we are almost through with our FSA review we have today and tomorrow. Today, we're just going to be covering the basics of statistics. So just wanted to remind you that you did have a standards checkpoint yesterday in USA Test Prep. So please make sure that that gets done, and you will have one tomorrow. Those will be the last two grades in our grade book for this year. So moving right along, let's go ahead and take a look at scatter plots. It says the scatter plot below compares middle school students' scores on the Epworth Sleepiness Scale to their scores on a recent math test. The Epworth Sleepiness Scale measures excessive daytime sleepiness, with 0 being least sleepy. Describe the association. So take a moment to interpret this graph. What is the association between these graphs? So if you said that there is a negative slope, I'm going to agree with you. There is a negative slope. So negative slope. There's a negative association, which means the more sleepy the student was, so the more sleepy, we'll just say more sleepy, the lower their test score. So when you're asked to interpret a graph, that's what they're asking you to do. What does this plot mean? So I want you guys to practice that again here. The scatter plot below shows the relationship between the ages and weights of 50 female infants. Draw a line on the scatter plot that fits the data. So what does this data mean, and where would a line of best fit approximately go? So what this graph means is that these 50 infants, and Lord willing, all infants, that as they grow, they're gaining weight. So if I were to draw a line of best fit, it would probably be somewhere around here, where about half the data is above and about half the data is below. That's a really good line of best fit. So let's use that information. And it says each graph shows the same set of data and a line that has been fitted to the data. Determine which line, A, B, or C, is the best fit. So take a look at those graphs. Which one is the best fit? I want to say A. The reason I'm going to say A is because if you look at graph A, about half that data is above, about half that data is below. In C, it looks like about everything is above it, which doesn't really help us. And in B, about everything is below that line. So graph A would be the one I would choose. All right, let's look at another one here. Which graph most closely approximate a line of best fit for this data? Which one? So if you're looking at this data, again, I'm going to want to say A. Because if I were to draw this line of best fit, it should encompass as many points as possible. Some above, some below, so I would say A. Okay, now we're going to move on from looking at scatter plots to what do things mean? All right, so what do these mean? It says a developmental psychologist conducted an experiment to measure the amount of time per day infants younger than 12 months old spent sleeping. The equation that best fits the data is m equals negative 7.5a plus 930, where m is the number of minutes they spent sleeping and a is the age of the infant. Explain the significance of the slope. So first of all, we have to recognize that this is in y equals mx plus b format. This is a linear line. So what I want you to think about is which one is the slope? this negative 7.5 or the 930? The slope is actually the negative 7.5 because it's sitting in front of that a value. So what is the significance of it? Well, the significance is that it's negative. Because if I were to graph this, 930 being my intercept, my graph would look like this, where every month the infant is getting older, that slope is negative 7.5. So would you suspect that as an infant gets older, they sleep more or they sleep less? So your correct answer would be that they sleep less on average. So as an infant gets older, they're sleeping less. All right, very nice job. Let's go ahead and, look at a table. So it says 200 students at Beach Middle School were surveyed regarding their preference for school start times. Responses were recorded by grade level. The relative frequencies are shown in the two-way table. Explain any associations between grade level and preference of school start time. Use the data from the table to support your answers. So go ahead and look at the table and make some assumptions. What do you see about 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders? Well, 6th graders definitely more preferred an earlier start time. Okay, but it was kind of almost 50-50. 7th grade also prefers an earlier start time, but this is like 75-20, so a lot more of them prefer. And in 8th grade, 90% prefer an earlier start time. So what we can say is that as the grade level increases, the percentage of students wanting an earlier start time increases. And that overall, most of the middle school wants an earlier start time. So the next question here is, what does the 25% mean in the second row of the table? So what does that mean? So what it means is that 25% of the 7th graders prefer a later start time. So 25% of them prefer a later start time. All right, moving right along to this last problem. We collected data on whether 65 professional golfers have practiced for at least 10,000 hours in their career and whether they've won a major championship. The Venn diagram is below. So, let's interpret this. Have practiced for at least 10,000 hours and have won a major. What number would go in that box? So they've practiced for 10,000 hours and they have won a major. Well, that number would be 37 because that would be both. How many have won a major but have not practiced 10,000 hours? Well, that would be over here at 8. What about the next? It says, have not won a major, but have practiced 10,000 hours. That would be 14. The next question says that they have not practiced 10,000 hours and they haven't won a major. Well, this would be the 6 over here. They haven't done anything. So if we were to add up these columns, 37 and 14, we would have 51, and then 14. So what can you say about this data? Is it better to try to reach that goal of practicing 10,000 hours or not? I would say yes. So if you're looking to be a professional golfer, that goal should be to try to get to practicing 10,000 hours, because obviously your chances of winning a major significantly increase. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video. Be sure to check out tomorrow's video. It is the last one of the year. Adios.